This episode is brought to you by the Arvada Center because they're putting on Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. She's poor. She's got stepsisters. She's their maid. And then she gets a fairy godmother and she's like, you get this one wish. And she's like, I want to go to the ball and meet the prince. She has to get home before midnight or she turns into a pumpkin. This is a lush, romantic, and totally original take on the Broadway classic featuring Rodgers and Hammerstein's iconic music and lyrics. So she runs and she leaves her glass slipper. It's history's most famous fairy tale, but with a modern twist. This show is family friendly with kids' price tickets available. Celebrate the magic of Cinderella this holiday season, running November 24th through December 31st at the Arvada Center. For tickets and more information, visit arvadacenter.org. I wish I still had it. My shoes from prom were meant to look like glass slippers, and they had a little rose in the heel of them. They were amazing. They were so tacky. They're so tacky. Got them at Dillard's. Today on CityCast Denver, it's election day, and we've got a doozy of an update on the scammer running unopposed for school board in Englewood. Plus, the latest verdict in the Elijah McClain trials is in. And finally, we answer your questions on food deserts, vegetarian restaurants, and Halloween hygiene. Also, just a note, there's some explicit moments in this episode. Today is Tuesday, November 7th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about.
How was Estes Park?
Gorgeous.
As usual.
It is.
Did you see an elk?
No, but it is like full of cars. They're getting there on the walkability stuff. They're figuring it out, but it's a slow process. And
what does Estes Park do about walkability? I mean, you got the one little street, but who's going to go up there and like rely on transit for their job?
No, I guess more just like you have to drive down from the hotel a block and a half because it's not a safe pathway to walk to it.
Oh, from the hotel down to like the main street?
Like they have a strip that they're working on for people to walk, but you still have to kind of cross a little bit of a little mini highway. So they're working on it though. It's good. We, Montgomery and I did the river walk. We went to a little playground.
It's charming. And
then we went to what he calls French fry restaurant, which is any restaurant that serves French fries. And that's what he likes.
It's my favorite restaurant.
He's like, French fry restaurant. And I'm like, sure. They have this great place, Penelope's. I've talked about it before. It's a burger and fries place. And we sat and had a little French fries and it was very sweet.
Watch the world go by. I love that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Nice little moment.
Yeah, he's fun. I love my baby.
Keep hearing good things about this guy.
Endless entertainment.
Well, good morning, Bree.
Good morning, Paul. I'm back.
You're back. You're feeling better. Clearly.
I am. Upper respiratory infection be darned. It's gone. Second one in 6 weeks.
Yeah. You're on a streak.
I am. I got my COVID shot. I got my flu shot, but that doesn't keep you from getting to upper respiratory infection. So
today's a big day. It's election day.
It is election day.
It might not feel like that because the election is such a very low-key affair this time around.
And to be fair, it's not because there's not important things on the ballot, but we had such a massive, city changing election last time with mayor and a new council. And this time it's a little less dramatic. We've got school board here in Denver. We've got Prop HH across the state, Prop II, and then a ton of smaller municipal elections as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, Bree, we're going to talk about the election a little bit. The story that we all want an update on is something that you and I just touched on briefly last week. The Englewood candidate for school board, Davon Williams, who's running unopposed and has an active arrest warrant out for him currently.
Yeah, it's just to remind folks, if you didn't hear last week, he's got convictions for aggravated motor vehicle theft of more than $6,000 in a case where he was a shady party promoter. He has an active arrest warrant in Adams County for a shady car sale.
I read the details of the car sale. It was like...
It's like the People's Court. It's just like an episode of the People's Court.
Like he sold someone a car that may have been junk, and then he went and maybe took the car back and weird.
Just like not stuff you want to have on your record if you're trying to do something like run for a political office. Although in this country, I guess that doesn't matter anymore. I mean, look at who's running for president next year and they're currently in court. But
he's polling great, up on Biden. I know you're referring to our former president, Donald Trump. He's up on Biden. We're looking at the next election already. We're not even finished with this one. We're talking about Davon Williams.
Again,
he's running unopposed.
He's running unopposed. What was interesting, I think I don't know if we touched on this last week, but he had been involved with some rezoning fights in his neighborhood. He's very anti-density.
Is that the side he's on?
I think so.
I think so too.
I think he wanted to stop it. He's a NIMBY.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what engaged him in the idea of running for school board was after I fought getting more housing, why don't I join the school board? But here's the update. The Englewood Herald reported that the Englewood Police Department confirmed on the morning of November 2nd that they are trying to locate Devon Williams and take him into custody on his warrant. And the official statement from the police department is, we are aware of the warrant for Devon Williams. We have made attempts to contact him and will continue to do so until we are able to take him into custody on the warrant. And if and when we are able to locate him, we understand the community's concerns and hope that due to media attention, Mr. Williams will turn himself into the police department as soon as possible.
So they want us to shame him, him into turning himself in.
Well, I was talking to some friends who've got kids in Englewood School District, and they're like, ha ha, funny, but like this guy could be running our school district.
Yeah.
And he has no experience with teaching students, school, anything. And he has an active criminal record.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you one thing he does have experience doing. This is from a listener, Jessica B., who wrote in. I'll quote, Devon Williams shops at my dispensary and he's absolutely the worst. He always comes in bragging about how he's going to win the race because no one is running against him and how he's only doing it because he wants to get into politics, which, that's fine. That's why people run for school board to get into politics.
Yeah,
I'm not going to take that away from him. He's not the type of person we need on a school board or in politics. This is Jessica B. again. He always acts like he's hot shit and has all this money and is such a cool guy and produces music and blah, blah, blah. But he is constantly begging for discounts and being rude / standoffish to staff. Standoffish, kind of also my move in a dispensary. So again, I'm not going to knock him on that. But Devon Williams apparently, he's rude when his haggling doesn't work. He's arrogant, and it really makes me mad that he will win simply because he's unopposed.
I had so
Agreed?
many. Yes. This runs in so many circles I deal with. Annoying people that act like they're hot shit in the music world and people that are terrible to salespeople. I hate that. I hate both of those. Jessica B., I'm sorry that that's happening to you. Genuinely, that really bothers me. So maybe we have some character issues here as well.
I
don't know.
I mean, he's going to win. What do we even do about this? Like, is he going to turn himself in? Because the cops will just show up to the school board meeting, the first one, right?
Yeah. I mean, we'll be following it. I feel bad. Then they're going to have another election. It's wild.
That's true.
I mean, if anything, this just says if you've ever thought about running for school board and you have actual vested interest in children's lives and education, maybe this is the time.
Maybe.
We'll see.
One last thing on the election, Bree. What are you watching? It's Tuesday. What are you watching tonight?
Prop HH, I don't know which way it's going to go. This is the Tabor situation.
Yeah.
I cannot get a feeling, honestly, for either side. It is very conflicting. Usually it's like people that are more to the left of me believe one thing. I'm seeing it all across the board.
Yeah, honestly, same. I don't know if anyone really feels confident about this. I haven't seen anyone who's like, this is my vote. This is why I'm doing it. Rah, rah, rah.
I still don't know. I haven't voted yet.
Oh, really?
No, I'm doing that today.
I voted a couple days ago.
So what are you watching?
Honestly, HH probably for me as well. I don't know what we're going to learn from that vote, but I think we're going to learn something about where people are at when it comes to taxes.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is always interesting to me. And then at the school board, Mayor Mike Johnston has come out and made a pretty big statement. He's been in ads endorsing candidates. He says he wants change. So if we don't get that change, that's going to be kind of an uncomfortable relationship for our mayor and the school board.
Yeah, and we'll see how these candidates shake out because right now we've got this board that was also a big percentage of the board was supported by the teachers union. We've got a lot of teachers union candidates running again, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And then, of course, as the real work starts, we'll figure out who these people actually are, and then we'll have whole new fights about it.
Yes, it's true.
Well, if you're a last minute voter and you're still looking for help figuring out what to do, go back and listen to our episode about Prop HH. We'll put a link to that in our show notes. But also, we're going to have voter guides from all these other outlets. We'll put a bunch of stuff in there that'll help you figure it out.
Check out our newsletter too. Denver.citycast.fm. You can sign up for our daily newsletter. Hey, Denver. And I know Peyton's got a huge roundup of places to get information on how to vote, what to vote, what's going on. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll be talking about the results as whatever happens all week. So tune back in later in the week for updates on the election.
Hey, listener, this is Bree dropping in with an update. We're about to talk about the latest in the Elijah McClain trials. But after Paul and I recorded this yesterday morning, the Adams County jury delivered its verdict in the case of Officer Nathan Woodyard, not guilty. And now here's the rest of the discussion on how they got there. Next story. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
We're in the midst of the Elijah McClain trials right now. For the last couple of months, we've been watching these trials play out over the killing of Elijah McClain, 23-year-old black man who police stopped on the side of the road in 2019 in Aurora. One officer's already been convicted. What is the latest with this second trial, Paul?
The latest is Officer Nathan Woodyard. He was the first officer on the scene that night. He is the one that is at the center of this trial. So he was the officer who allegedly held McClain in a carotid hold, which, according to Colorado Public Radio, is the type of hold that cuts off blood flow to a person's brain. Woodyard is being charged with manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. But unusually, in this trial, and why we wanted to talk about it is because Nathan Woodyard has done something remarkable. He took the stand last week in his own defense, which is very rare.
Not common.
No, not common at all. My wife actually used to be a criminal justice reporter. We were talking about this over the weekend. She told me never. She would cover murder trials, and she said it never happened, mostly because when you testify on your own behalf, it correlates very strongly with a guilty verdict. So it just doesn't work. So a lawyer would always say, don't do it. That would be the advice.
Interesting.
Like, you never know what's going to happen when you get up there. Like, you get emotional, maybe you let slip something and you get slapped with some new charges. Like, there's not a lot of upside and there's a lot of downside.
Yeah. And I have to say, in reading this story, I can see that what your wife Megan was talking about in doing this reporting, why folks don't do it, because this officer was very emotional, was very forthright about not feeling confident almost in what was going on in this situation, or at least being afraid of what was transpiring while he was there. And I had not really ever heard anybody talk like that before. I don't know. I just saw through a lot of things there. Like, how do I say this? I think I saw somebody who felt not prepared for a situation. Is what came across to me in his testimony. But this is kind of the problem you're talking about, is we infer a lot of things based on what people say about themselves.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to have their own opinion about this kind of thing. But in this case, I mean, it is remarkable what happened in this courtroom. A couple more quotes from the Colorado Public Radio article. Quote, Woodyard tearfully told the jurors that he would do everything differently on the night of August 24th, 2019, if he could. He also admitted to violating a number of training protocols and requirements to be a peace officer in Aurora in Colorado. Another part of the article, so he's saying he has all these regrets. Quote, that included his decision to go hands-on with McClain, who didn't show any signs of avoiding officers at the start of the interaction, almost immediately. He also said he wouldn't have helped take McClain down to the grass. He said he regretted using the carotid hold, which cuts off blood flow to the person's brain. Lastly, he regretted trusting his fellow officers to take care of McClain when he left to compose himself. His attorney, Megan Downing, asked, did you trust other officers would take care of him? Woodyard's voice broke. I did. Did they? She asked. No, I know that now, he said.
Yeah, that seems like someone who's having a real reckoning with themselves in the moment.
I found it very emotional to read this testimony and to think about what he's going through over the last 4 years. I mean, it pales in comparison with the family of Elijah McClain and the impact of his actions, but to see him reckon with it and to hear what the effect has been for him, that was its own remarkable moment.
Once again, the Adams County jury found Nathan Woodyard not guilty. Yesterday's verdict leaves one trial remaining of the paramedics who administered ketamine to Elijah McClain when they arrived on the scene that night in 2019. This episode is brought to you by Ednium. Ednium is an action-focused community development organization that partners with recent public school alumni to change the way our city educates and reinvests in its homegrown talent. With a new look Denver Public Schools Board of Education taking office, Ednium's podcast is a great place to learn more about the ins and outs of DPS. And for a refresher on who these board members are, check out the DPS Board of Education Candidate Series wherever you get your podcasts. Again, that's Ednium, EDNIUM, wherever you get your podcasts. Note, Ednium is a 501c3 and does not endorse any candidate, and all candidates were invited to participate in this series. We're back. We are hearing from you, our brilliant and hilarious listeners. We got a lot of feedback last week from various shows, various conversations, which is always so exciting to us. Paul, do you want to read a message that we got from Jake R.?
Sure. Jake R. writes, "Hello, CityCast. This is Jake Reederer from Spinelli's Market.
Oh.
A friend passed along your podcast and said I needed to give it a listen." So this is presumably the episode we
did about markets.
Did last week about
Bodegas,
markets.
yeah.
And Jake in particular, who
is a
just
co-owner.
is now a co-owner of the Congress Park Market, soon to open. Anyway, Jake goes on, "Thank you all for what is clearly your love of Denver. My wife and I would love to chat with you more about the small market space and why it's important to us and why we believe it's important to the community. I'm also very intrigued to speak with the host who used to work with food desert funding and get their perspective on the issue and why they think that small markets definitely aren't the answer." So I guess that would be you. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit more. He goes on, "And we'd like to challenge you all to come work at Spinelli's for half a shift to see what we're about and why we, as former restaurant people, have found our home in neighborhood markets. I look forward to hearing from y'all and hopefully sitting down for a cup of coffee with you soon." Well, Jake, thanks so much for writing in.
Thanks, Jake, for writing in. I thought this was really helpful. I actually thought a lot about this conversation after we had it because I do agree with Jake a little bit in that, like, I maybe misrepresented the idea of a food desert being the solution. It is not the solution. It is a solution.
A neighborhood market being a solution to the food desert problem.
Yeah, and what I don't think I articulated was often what I found in doing the work that I did was that these small markets just didn't have price points that were affordable for somebody who was trying to purchase the majority of their groceries at that small market. So that was sort of my point, was like, not that big box stores are better, but I know as someone that shops for a family that I often can't get a lower price on a generic item or something at a small market that I could get at a King Soopers. And so that's the struggle I think I found in studying. I mean, I've visited dozens of these markets across the state, rural areas, urban areas, everywhere. And their price points often were just higher to the point because they can't compete.
They can't deal in bulk.
Right. They can't buy in bulk the way a Walmart can or something. I understand why. But often sometimes there's also a differentiation, I think, between types of these markets, right? Peyton brought up the Marzick's situation. It's a fun place to get fancy cheese. It's delicious. It's great. But like, I'm not feeding my family with fancy cheese. And that's the experience I've had at some of these markets, was they're just expensive, or they offer more premium products and they're not really for the everyday shopper trying to feed a family.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to just clarify that, while also absolutely giving respect to Jake and his wife for filling in the need that is there, which is the grab and go things. Maybe you do need milk and eggs, or like he said, this is somewhere that people from restaurants are now going to work because maybe they want to be in their neighborhood with people. And I see the function of them as these community spaces as well. I just wanted to clarify that it's a solution. It is not the solution. And sometimes we think they can be, when it needs to be a bigger picture approach.
Yeah. And that's
to affordability.
Based on your observations, seeing a lot of these markets.
Yeah. So, and seeing the price points at these markets.
I mean, and that tells you that model tends to take you in that direction of like catering to the affluent customer who maybe only wants to drop in once or twice a week. I wonder though if it is possible to forge a new path and to have that neighborhood market that is affordable. That
once were, right? The smaller markets in a Spinelli's type of market used to be the market in the neighborhood before the big boxes. And they probably could compete better because they had relationships with distributors and things like that. And yeah, I wonder if that could be a possibility again, if we could redistribute this some way that allows folks to get a better price point while also being able to keep, because you got to be able to keep it in business too. I understand it. He's got a business to run. So
it needs to make sense.
And you can't compete with Walmart.
Jake, as for your offer of coming to work at Spinelli's, I am tempted. I totally
I
get
never-
the romance of the neighborhood market, and I think I would love it.
And as a 17-year veteran of retail, I never worked grocery. So I don't know what that's like.
Kind of be fun to do together. You
Yeah.
could show me a few things.
I could.
Your retail tricks.
I could. Just mostly being nice to people.
Interesting.
Interesting stuff.
Interesting. All right, let's move on. We got another one here on Japanese food,
Oh,
which was
yeah.
that same episode from Mahala B. Mahala writes, my partner got me hooked on your guys' podcast. I listen to you almost every morning at work on Spotify and just finished your episode about Japanese food in Colorado. I appreciate all of your fresh ideas for outings for my partner, dog, and I can do. As someone who grew up in Colorado, I get super excited when I learn about new communities and events. Now for my qualms. My partner swears that your producer, Paul, hey, that's me, used to or still is vegetarian/vegan. If so, why is there no plant-based representation? A vegan/vegetarian diet is super popular in Denver, at least in my social circles. I understand if it is not a, quote, cool thing to report on, but if people are foodies and want to try somewhere new, spots like Somebody People, City City, and Wellness Sushi should get a reference or recommendation as well.
And that is interesting because we didn't really touch on that, but like I do think about, I go to Coke Grove, they have tofu. My favorite thing at Uncle, chilled tofu, but we didn't really talk about it. And Wellness Sushi, we have been meaning to touch on.
Yeah, well, we have talked about it a couple times.
I didn't want to say it's been edited out of the show multiple times. So listeners, we've had the conversation. You've just never heard it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you why. I'll just give you my take really quickly. I have been a couple of times. Yes, I was and sort of still most of the time am vegetarian. Wellness Sushi, it's fine. You know, I like it okay. I think the rolls are too big. Like they're not one bite rolls. They're quite
like
substantial.
Almost a burrito.
Yeah, but some of them are kind of cool. Like they have a one where you wrap it in mango and they have sprinkled tahini on top. It's nice.
I think what I'm hearing from our lovely listener Mahala though is that maybe we need to do our favorite veggie places show.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah,
that's what I think.
We could totally do that.
Because I'm somebody that's trying to move in that direction more with my family, and I would love some other recommendations. I have not been to Somebody People. I've heard it's great. City City, it's been here for a long time. I have thoughts and feelings, but there are a lot of other. It's a wide variety.
Oh my god, City is one of those places that drives people on the Denver subreddit nuts.
Oh really?
Nuts. Oh my.
Their recent website changeover was pretty wild. But
sounds like you're right there with them. It was wild.
It's a different presentation than what I expect from them. At any rate, City is a staple. Somebody People's one of the newer spots. If you've got favorite vegetarian or vegan places, let us know. Call the I Love Vegetarians hotline.
Yes.
At 720-500-5418. Let us know where you like to go. Maybe we can get a good list going and share it with our listeners. Because if Mahala's been here a long time, I bet there's folks that are just moving to the city and have no clue where to start.
Yep, you're probably right.
I like it.
One last thing before we move on. The numbers on vegetarianism. I looked this up once.
Oh.
It's about 6% of the population. 6%.
6?
Yeah. So it might be popular in Mahala's social circles, but generally...
Interesting.
Not that much.
Huh.
Anyway, we got one more here. This message comes from a listener named Margot. Hey, CityCast, my mom hands out toothbrushes for Halloween. No one will be stealing a bucket of those. She does hand them out with a smile. Keep brushing.
Do kids go to her mom's house? Because I feel like that's the house you avoid. It's the toothbrush lady.
Last line of Margot's message. Needless to say, our house is never popular.
There you go.
Asked and answered. Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh boy. I heard about people giving out all kinds of crazy stuff this year, like Hot Wheels and I think you told me that.
Yeah,
because they were
$1 at King Soopers. Also, like my friend Thad, who's been on the show, loves to give out full-size candy bars. He's like gets real stoked. He's like, kids come to my house because I got the full-size candy bars. So he goes to Costco and probably spends more money than his wife would want him to. But then you always know you go to that house with the 12-foot skeleton and the full-size candy bars.
Yeah.
In Ruby Hill. Just saying. Go visit.
Next year.
I know I had so many thoughts and feelings about Halloween, but we'll save that for next year.
Okay. All right. Well, Bree, I think that's it for the show today.
I think happy voting, everyone.
Yeah. Happy Election Day.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell the Englewood Police Department about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Denver, and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.